maybe a dragon or a kraken or, something like that. Hi there and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing monster food chains. Now, in your campaign or world, naturally your players will want to fight a big monster of some kind. Heck, this would even apply to more modern settings, like with a mob boss or something similar. Regardless, it's important to remember the food chain within these things. The ecosystem is a careful balance. Continuing the dragon choice, for example. Maybe the dragon being here and having to eat like harpies or something like that has meant that while traders are occasionally attacked, for the most part, it does eat other things. If it's killed, there'll be inherently more of the creatures it ate because less of them will be being ate, which means less of what they eat would be there, and so on and so forth. Maybe they save a town for the moment, but accidentally cause another problem by fixing one. If uniforms differ from town to town, it could indicate that they're not united, at least not within a single governing rule. Hi there and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing uniforms and clothing. Something that can either show a sense of unity or divide between a place would be the uniform or general clothing that people of a certain area would wear. It would also indicate at a glance quite a few things about the town. What is the quality of the clothes? Higher quality may suggest royalty or at least being well off, whereas the opposite may suggest that there isn't a lot of income into the town. What they're made of may indicate the climate where the town is located. The clothing people wear may also be a representation of their culture, what god or gods they worship. By deciding a few of these things for each town individually, eventually most of your players will click on and may even be able to identify at a glance where a certain NPC is from based on how they're dressing, which is extremely useful for trying to find returning NPCs or people from a town that you've already visited before. It's almost like a message board or an old forum, entirely dedicated to questions players and other DMs may have for game designers and fellow DMs within D&D. Hi there and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing Sage Advice. Sage Advice is a website that I personally have only recently discovered. However, boy howdy, I wish I'd found it sooner. From general lore to if there's a canon reason blunderbusses and muskets exist within the Forgotten Realms, and with a search bar to see if a question you may already have has been answered. There's a good chance it has. Sage Advice has been up for a hot minute. It's so insanely useful, and with different subsections for different expansions as well, including Critical Roles expansions. There's a little bit something for everyone here. Almost every video game you play out there will have some way of inspiring you within your games. Hi there and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing inspiration from game environments. Video games are a great place to gain inspiration for your world. For example, things like From Software's games would be perfect aesthetic inspiration for Curse of Strahd or a Grimdark campaign, whereas things like Monster Hunter can help inspire the way your creatures move and fight against other players, or even use the environment and other creatures around them. Things like the Witcher series is a wonderful example of everyone having their own story and experiences to tell. And sometimes when you're in a rut, playing a video game and viewing it from the perspective of a DM can really help pull you out of it. Keith is the author of a well-known book series amongst DMs and GMs called The Monsters Know What They're Doing. Hi there, and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing Keith Ammann. I'm sure any DM worth their salt has heard of this guy's name, regardless of if I've said it wrong or not. It's a 4-book series that goes by a couple of different names as the books go on. The books themselves, at least the first 2, describe how certain monsters would act with one another, how they would act with other species, how they would act in a fight, and how they would work together or entirely for self-preservation. It's a little look into monster ecology and psychology, I suppose, to a degree. And that's just the first 2. Number 3, called Live to Tell the Tale, is a book for players on combat tactics, amongst other things, that will help keep you alive and fighting your best, as your character probably should. And the final book, How to Defend Your Lair, is all about building a more believable stronghold and base for your baddies, and just how to make them as believable as they can be. Anything. Everybody has used FNG at some point for one thing or another. It is creme de la creme. Hi there and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing fantasy name generators. FNG is something I'm sure that every single person and their mother has used at some point. So We won't stick on this one for too long. However, I feel like Fantasy Name Generators needs at least an honorary mention on Build a Better World for the sheer amount of people it has helped decide on names for their characters, or their ships, or place names, or weapon names, and also the amount of time it saved me and probably other DMs from having to come up with bizarre on-the-spot fantasy names. It's something for everything. Fantasy Name Generator will always hold a special place in my heart, and I'm more than aware that I'm not the only one who feels that way. Most of the time, in both real world and fantasy ones, people's minds begin to wander, or they see something they can't explain. Hi there, and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing local superstitions and myths. Something you as a DM can do to make players feel like they're in a world where people are, well, people, is to implement some local superstitions or myths. For example, I hear in the town by the river that on a crescent moon there's a woman who pulls you into the water, or something to that end. This is also a good subtle way of trying to convince players to go explore a new place as well. Obviously, incorporate it a bit better than just an NPC coming up and going, "Did you hear about the lake?" There are better ways to do it. I'm sure as a DM you know that. The location of a town affects everything from population to building design, and even what materials have been used to build the housing. Hi there, and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing town trade and history. When building up a town for your world, it's important to take into consideration what function the town would have, or what function does it currently have. Try to take into consideration its location geographically, and also the general wealth of the area that it's in. If it's in the mountains, then the town probably specializes in mining of some kind. But if so, what ore? Is it still operational? Is it something that they can use in the town themselves and refine? Is the town on a waterfront? Perhaps it was or is a fishing town, meaning there would be buildings for storing and processing fish. If it's a farming town in the glades, then there would probably be a building to process grain or keep grazing livestock. Unless you're starting your campaign at the beginning of recorded time within your world, there's a high chance that the people within it would have had to fight to survive to some degree. Hi there, and welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing historic wars. If you're playing a fantasy campaign and have long-lived races, they may even remember some of these fights or taken part in them. Making history and the reason for these things known is an exceedingly good at helping set tone and establish history of the land that your players are currently exploring. Tapestries depicting a certain side winning. Maybe a long-lived race had their land overthrown and keeps a hidden flag of their old country as a memento or something similar. This also can help you establish tensions between two sides, or whether or not it's likely to start again during the campaign, and your players might be able to take part in it. Why not make yourself a custom bestiary PDF? Hi there, welcome back to Build a Better World. Today we'll be discussing the Homebrewery. The Homebrewery is a super useful DM tool for the creative DMs out there who want to make custom content, stat blocks, items and stuff, but want it to look like it's hot off the press from Wizards of the Coast themselves. I personally haven't had a chance to mess around with the website yet, mainly because I personally haven't had any 100% concrete ideas on what I would create pages for, and also, I have no clue how to deal with the coding aspect of that. That's something I'll have to look into. However, if you want your player's custom weapon or special item to feel authentic, hell, maybe you make a cool monster and you want to keep it and implement it into a future campaign, running it through the Homebrewery is just a great way to make it look professional. Also, you can use it to keep folders nice and organized. The only limit is the amount of free time you have.